Tonight on UMass This Week, an in-depth look at the World Series celebration in Southwest.
And election night was last night. We give you the results of some of the local winners. I'm Brittany Bowker.
And I'm Kayla Zuckerman. Election day yesterday resulted in a new mayor for Boston and no new casinos for Massachusetts. State Rep. Martin Walsh is the new Boston mayor over City Councilor John Connolly. Edward C. Sullivan was elected as the new West Springfield mayor. Both East Boston and Palmer rejected the plan for casinos. The proposal in Palmer lost by 93 votes.
This year's Halloween celebration was relatively quiet for the Amherst police, but here are some of the highlights. Friday night at 11:31 p.m., police broke up a party of about 200 people on Northampton Road. On Saturday night at 12:17 a.m., police dispersed about 400 people from a party on College Street, and then another 200 people on North Pleasant Street. At 11:35 a.m., officers removed 100 people from a house on South Whitney Street. According to a police log, officers arrested or summoned to court 19 people for being minors in possession of alcohol. A total of 26 noise complaints were reported over the course of the weekend.
As you may already know, the Red Sox won the World Series last Wednesday. UMass students gathered in Southwest for a celebration that got out of hand. Brianna Davis has more.
Last Wednesday, 3,000 students gathered in the Southwest residential area to celebrate the Boston Red Sox victory in Game 6 of the World Series. With the last pitch leading the Red Sox to a 6-1 victory against the Cardinals, students erupted into excitement. As the celebration of the victory went on, students continued to up the ante. After almost an hour of celebration, an order of dispersion was announced, but the crowd was resistant to budge. As tensions got higher between officials and students, law enforcement decided to take action.
Yep, everybody's on video. Smile to the dean's office.
Pepper ball shots and smoke bombs were used by the police. 15 arrests were made that night, that number being higher than the number of arrests made in Boston. Although more than a dozen students were taken into custody, SGA President Zach Broughton feels as though most students acted responsibly.
We can look back and say that most of our students acted the way that they were supposed to, and we were really thankful for their cooperation and the fun time that they had.
Brianna Davis, UMass This Week.
We now bring in Student Government Association's House Speaker, Shannon Barrett. So Shannon, how did SGA, the UMass administration, prepare for last Wednesday's celebration?
Well, the SGA met with members of the CSD, the police, and the administration to come up with a plan that we could all work at together to provide some safe alternatives to students as they're celebrating the Red Sox win.
What are your thoughts on UMass having more arrests than Boston?
I think that the arrests that we had about 19, I think, and Boston had 15. If you really look at the numbers, we had 3,000 students from the Southwest area come out. Only 15 got arrested, and we had 26 SGA students staffing the event. So overall, there were more people that were doing what they were supposed to do and helping out than those who weren't.
Did the attempt to prevent the riot by bringing in inflatable activities and food in the Southwest area backfire?
No, I don't think so. I think it was a success for programming because we got all these people out and it was really memorable and we had a really spirited and engaging time there. I do think that unfortunately the actions of a few students ruined it for everyone else, but hey, what are you going to do?
The UMass Amherst Twitter account says smoke and pepper balls were used and repeatedly emphasized how tear gas and rubber bullets were not utilized. Do you feel that the police handled the situation appropriately?
I think the fact that smoke and pepper balls were used instead of tear gas and rubber bullets speaks for itself. I know the UMPD is working really hard to not have confrontations with students because at UMass we don't think that's okay. So overall, I think our school police handled it extremely well.
Thank you, Shannon. Coming up next, see how UMass is making it easier to report sexual assault on campus. Please stay with us.
Shoppers at the Garden Plaza Mall in New Jersey feared for their lives Monday night when a gunman dressed in all black fired at least 6 shots in the shopping center. More than 100 shoppers remained hiding in stores in the mall Tuesday morning, uncertain of whether or not it was safe. Officers worked to evacuate all of the stores. The gunman, Richard Shoup, was found dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound in a remote room of the mall at 3:20. While the motive still remains unclear, he left a note stating the end was coming. No other injuries were reported.
A countdown and applause accompanied India on Tuesday morning as it launched its first spacecraft bound for Mars. Officials at the Space Center described it as a successful launch that will take 5 months to reach the surface. If the complex mission is successful, India will become only the 4th nation to visit the Red Planet, accompanying the former Soviet Union, the United States, and Europe. The spacecraft will explore the planet's surface, minerals, and atmosphere. Officials at the Space Center hope to discover more about the loss of water, map the sources of methane gas, and collect data about the planet's 2 moons.
Last Friday, Germany became the first country in Europe to offer a third gender option. The new law will make it an option to leave gender as indeterminate on the birth certificate. This is so an intersex child can choose what they wish to identify with when they're old enough. In addition, German passports will soon have an X in the gender field, joining Australia, New Zealand, and Bangladesh.
UMass will now receive a 3-year, $270,000 grant from the U.S. Department of Justice's Office on Violence Against Women. The money will be used for educational programs. Programs include an online course for incoming students on sexual violence and bystander intervention. The university partners in the proposal are the Center for Women Community, the Equal Opportunity and Diversity Office, the Dean of Students, and UMass Police Department.
UMass is making it easier to report sexual assaults on campus. Shannon Barrett explains how.
Over the past 3 years, there's been a steady increase in sexual assaults on the UMass campus, according to UMPD's annual security report. Becky Lockwood is also seeing an increase in numbers at the Center for Women and Community.
We have seen a significant increase in the number of folks that are seeking our services, so we're busier than we've ever been.
I think it might be more people that are reporting it, and I don't know if it's exactly increased, but I think that there are more people feeling comfortable to report it.
Although there are many resources on campus for victims of sexual assault, including the Center for Women and Community and Stonewall, there are mixed opinions on the effectiveness and sensitivity that the university provides through its judicial system.
There's such a stigma around reporting it if you were drunk or if the other person was drunk that oftentimes survivors choose to not report it instead.
After criticism that the face-to-face mediations between the victim and the alleged perpetrator were seen as traumatizing, the Dean of Students has since changed the way they hold conferences.
It wasn't always clear that they would have a supportive response, whereas I think now I feel very confident in saying they will take you seriously, they will not blame you for what happened, they will try to work with you to keep you in school or to help you be successful.
Students and advocacy groups can agree that bringing awareness and education to this issue is the solution.
There's a lack of education around sexual violence on campus. So for example, we don't have a mandatory in-person training for sexual violence for incoming first years during new student orientation.
We provide what we call advocacy, which is really support. So if someone wants to talk to the police, if they need to go to university health services, if they want to talk to a dean, our counselors will accompany them, we'll talk with them about what's going to happen, we'll explain all the legal options that someone has if they're sexually assaulted.
Reporting from UMass This Week, Shannon Barrett.
Students for Liberty is an international group that encourages students to think for themselves and get involved in any way that they can. The UMass Daily Collegian reports UMass senior Nathan Fatal is helping the club establish itself here on campus. Students for Liberty will be working with multiple student groups such as UMass Gun Club and Cannabis Reform Coalition. The club wants students to exercise their Second Amendment rights and be willing to challenge political and economic ideas. Students for Liberty is a worldwide nonprofit group. A devastating fire destroyed several businesses on Route 9. Kate Ferrante has more.
Thank you, Britt. On Sunday, October 27th, a strip mall went up in flames on the busy streets of Route 9 in Hadley. Reported at 7:41 p.m., the fire departments of Hadley, Northampton, South Hadley, Sunderland, and Hatfield arrived at 206 Russell Street, working together to fight the 40-foot high flames. A total of 15 businesses and apartments made up this complex, and all were destroyed. Luckily, no deaths or life-threatening injuries resulted, although one firefighter at the scene was in need of minor medical assistance. At this time, the roads are no longer closed and a fence blocks off the wreckage. The fire is under investigation by Massachusetts State Police, but it is still unknown what exactly was the cause. The Amherst Area Chamber of Commerce created a fire relief fund, which has been rapidly gaining support from local business owners and residents. Donations can be made through the Chamber's website at amherstarea.com or by calling 253-0700. Reporting for UMass This Week, I'm Kate Ferranti.
Thank you, Kate. We'll be right back after this. Please stay with us. At Smith College, a banana plant broke through a pane of glass in the 30-foot-high greenhouse roof over the weekend. The conservatory manager at Smith College reportedly said plants have a lot of power behind them, and he was not surprised that this happened. The college immediately called in a work order to fix the window pane. A highly skilled and specialized crew member will have to physically be on the glass rooftop in order to repair the damage. According to the manager, there's a good chance the banana plant has been in that same location for more than 100 years.
A British family was forced to evacuate their home this weekend after Brazilian wandering spiders hatched from the bananas they bought at their local Sainsbury's. Brazilian wandering spiders are commonly called banana spiders since they often live in banana trees. Believed to be one of the deadliest types of spider in the world, they hold the Guinness Book of World Records as the most venomous spider. Sainsbury's supermarket is paying for the family's house to be fumigated and for their accommodations while the home is being cleaned.
The cold weather is coming and winter is right around the corner. So shelters in Amherst and Northampton have reopened. These emergency shelters offer homeless individuals dinner, breakfast, and a place to sleep. Both shelters have about 20 beds, half of them reserved for women. Amherst Shelter is the only one in the area that accommodates guests under the influence of alcohol or drugs. Both Northampton's Interfaith Winter Shelter and Amherst's First Baptist Church Shelter opened on Friday for the season, which runs through the month of April. And we go to Natalie.
Thanks, Britt. People have fallen from buildings in New York City, like the window washer who fell 47 stories and survived. Asher Vongtao, a 19-year-old student at New York University, fell from the roof of his dorm. According to the New York Fire Department, Vongtao fell about 100 feet between two buildings in the Tribeca area. Vongtao was wedged between the buildings in a space that was no more than a foot wide for 36 hours. Vongtao's friends began to worry about their friend when he ended up missing after a fire alarm went off. Hours went by and a campus security officer discovered Vongtao after his friends filed a second report. Firefighters arrived on scene and rescued Vongtao from the crevice. Vongtao suffered a skull fracture, broken arm, collapsed lung, and survived. Back to you, Brittany.
Coming up, UMass was named one of the top LGBT-friendly campuses.
And UMass soon will say goodbye to one of its favorite employees. Stay with us. If you've ever been to a meal at Burke, you probably know Yen Nugan, the friendly cashier who has been greeting students with a smile for over 2 decades. In an interview Nugan did with Amherst Wire, she will be retiring at the end of the semester to spend time with her family.
YouTube held its first ever music award show Sunday evening, presenting an hour-and-a-half of anything goes live entertainment. Hosts and comedic musicians Jason Schwartzman and Reggie Watts were not allowed to rehearse or script anything, creating an award show experience unlike any other. Tyler, the Creator, Avicii, Arcade Fire, Eminem, and Lady Gaga were among some of the featured live music video performances. The eclectic show was streamed on YouTube.com and took place in Pier 36 in Manhattan.
UMass Amherst was recently named one of the top LGBT campuses in the country by Campus Pride. But does the flagship campus truly deserve this title? Veronica Strakalurski looks for the answers to that question.
Andy Russell is a senior at UMass. When he transferred to UMass as a sophomore, he not only transitioned to a new school, but would also later transition from female to male his junior year.
I knew that I wanted to come here because I knew that it was a really queer-friendly school and in a really queer-friendly area. I think that UMass is doing a really, really amazing job on a campus this big to foster a queer community in whatever way it can. I personally have benefited so much as a queer person at this university.
He is now the president of Pride Alliance, which is an RSO that offers a safe and social environment to LGBT students.
It's just even incredible to be able to once a week go to a Pride meeting and be surrounded by people from the queer community.
Pride Alliance is just one of the many resources for LGBT UMass students. Another resource is the Stonewall Center. Jenny Beeman is the center director and one of the developers of the Campus Pride criteria. Colleges were ranked on factors like LGBT student life and LGBT counseling and health.
We've been a trendsetter when it comes to LGBT services, including this office. We were one of the very first colleges in the country to have an LGBT center.
UMass was also one of the first colleges to have an LGBT dorm floor and provide health care services for transgender surgeries. Beeman says that even though UMass is in the top 25, there is always room for improvement.
That there's always more that can be done to kind of raise the bar. I want to see us continue to be one of the best schools in the country.
Amelia John Schoenfield, who is a staff member at the center, chose UMass for a major reason: UMass's LGBT community.
It's a very open campus in the sense that, like, even if people don't necessarily agree or this or that, but they're still accepting. Get to see a spectrum of people in the sense of expression, who they want to be, how they dress, how they act, what they do.
John Schoenfeld says the UMass community is generally a safe place and she is comfortable here.
Everybody is who they are around campus, and it's whatever, you know, like you can be you.
UMass strives to be at the forefront of LGBT campuses, helping students adjust and transition. Reporting from UMass, I'm Veronica Strack-Willersi.
Fundraiser took place on Saturday's sunny 65-degree afternoon. For $20, Amherst residents could try 20 different desserts options spread throughout Amherst Center. The event began at 12 o'clock and offered a variety of desserts such as cider donuts, chocolate mousse, and blueberry cake. Froyo World, Bart's Homemade Cafe, The Pub, and Paradise of India were among the 20 local restaurants that participated in this event. 75% of the proceeds go to Reader and Reader Incorporated, an Amherst-founded organization devoted to expanding literacy. The remaining 25% goes to the participating Amherst businesses.
Yesterday was the SBS annual Wing Thing. More than 300 students showed up to network with other SBS students, undergraduate advisors, and faculty and learn more about different programs and resources. Oh, and of course to eat some wings. Along with wings, there was chili, chips, mini sandwiches, and an SBS cake. Students also entered a raffle, and one lucky student won an iPad. Well, thanks for joining us tonight. Be sure to join us next Wednesday at 7. I'm Kayla Zuckerman.
And I'm Brittany Bowker. For news updates around campus, like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Until next week, have a good night.